Hi guys, this is Irene. From the title, you can pretty much tell what this video is about. I want to preface it with just a few things. One is, I've heard a lot that the average person is just really dumb, and the attention span that the average individual has is very short because they're used to Snapchatting, which I don't do. They're used to social media, they're used to TV, and everything is just quick and fast and to the point and catchphrase this, and and this video is not going to be like that. I'm going to just believe that you're not stupid and that you can sit through a dialogue that's not designed to be entertaining to you, but is designed to provoke you to think on your own. I'm not going to try to pop in and out of the camera. I'm not going to be doing cuts. I'm not going to use creative speech and animation to keep your attention, because there's no place for that in a genuine discussion between intellectual equals. So I want to respect you guys by just having a conversation. With that said, I also want to not hide where my stance is. I'm Christian, so the things that I bring up as far as my opinions are going to be from a Christian worldview perspective. I am Afrocentric in my thinking, secondary, which means I align myself to Christians first, and then I have care for the community of persons that is part of the African genetic pool. Okay, immediate. With that said, I don't believe in race. I do believe we're just all one blood. That's what the Bible teaches. I think we're all one race. However, I won't ignore the issues that are unique to each group of person, just based on just the sit in the world and history, so I don't want to pretend like those things don't exist. I don't watch television. I don't read the newspaper. I don't use my computer as a TV. And the things that I'm going to speak on now are things that I specifically looked into just so that we could talk about it. And it was all rooted in a conversation that I had with a friend and activist that I know. And it got me thinking it's a conversation I want to have with you guys. So this entire video is going to deal with extremism on the left and getting off the plantation and the #walkaway movement. Now, I do not identify as Democratic or Republican. I think, well, I'll get into what I think. So let me just start with how I got to wanting to make this video. In my research, I came across a young lady named Candace Owens. And I've seen people like her before. There are people in the Black community that would be referred to, I don't know about her, but similar people would be referred to as coons or Uncle Tom, which is an ignorant statement because it should really be Sambo if you've ever actually read the book. They would be referred to in derogatory ways. But she was interesting to me because she spewed a lot of the same rhetoric. However, it was muddled with or intertwined with a genuine care for the community. So that was what was interesting about her. She wasn't completely putting on a song and dance show. She was equating it to real problems in the community that she wanted to see fixed. And I hope she retains that part of her personality and belief system. But moving past her, I found it interesting that there were catchphrases that were being used, and it was a statement she made that made me investigate this more and decide to talk to you guys. and that was the getting off the plantation statement. And what struck me about it was that in my research, I found that many people were using that statement. And these same people were saying that the left appeals to the emotions of people and not logic and facts. And I was thinking, well, that's such an interesting thing to say, and then follow it with an emotional, inflammatory statement. Like, I'm off the plantation. I'm getting off the plantation. I'm escaping the plantation. Because that is actually emotionally inflammatory, very similar to the left, although the delivery was much more calm. And then on the other side of the coin, you had people that were doing things that were just unreasonable. If somebody brought up police brutality, valid, it shouldn't go on. But then somebody else brought up violence in the Black community, they would just blatantly kind of blow it off, which just seems odd to me, in an honest conversation. So on both sides, I was kind of giving everybody the side eye, which is why I don't like to get involved in politics, because I just feel it's all a farce. But what was more interesting to me were the common person reactions. So as I was reading comments and what people were saying about this information that's basically being fed to them by the wealthy on both sides, liberal wealthies, conservative wealthy people, is I found that people were regurgitating facts because they were so conditioned to believe them. So there was like a fact that kept being regurgitated, and I'll deal with this in another video. Black people make up 50% of, 13% of the population, but commit 50% of the crimes. Well, I actually went to the FBI's website and I looked at the arrest and prison statistics, and that is very, very far from the truth. Even violent crimes, blacks don't commit the most of them. Whites actually commit the most violent crimes, with the exception of assault and things like that. Murder, and manslaughter. With the exception of those two things, rape, assault, robbery, actually whites commit 2-3 times more in some cases, and that's another video. So if you're interested in that, be looking out for that video. But it was interesting that everybody was saying the same thing. Now, these could be all, agents. The internet is not a reliable source of information. Or these could be real people that were just that brainwashed, And in the same respect, there were lots of regular, it seemed, Black people and left people who just attributed everything that's going on in the Black community to white people. It's just all white people. It's just all racism. It's just, like everything's a white person's fault. This is the other side of the coin, you know what I mean? Like, there's no accountability or responsibility. It's just all the systems that are in place that are in complete control over this. And those systems need to be changed for anything to be improved. But what I found more interesting than the bizarre narratives, I hate that term because that seems like a popular term these days, was the use of words or lack thereof. It was very 1984-esque. I don't know if you guys have read 1984, but it's an interesting little book for me because if you've watched my videos, you know that I collect antiquarian reference books. And in collecting those reference books, one of the things that I'm very fascinated with are how words change over time and the loss and inclusion of words in our English language. And so I have reference books that go back hundreds of years in my collection. And so I guess I'm a little more finely tuned to when conversation is narrowed as such so that the talking points are very directed, right? So when you present two sides to a coin, you treat everything like a coin, right? You are either completely radical and on the left, alongside the people that just want there to be thousands of genders, no end to that, alongside with the people that co-sign, mental illness and, removing your sexual organs like your breasts and your penis because you're confused about if those things belong on your body. If you are on the left, you're siding with people that believe that laws just don't matter. We have border laws, but hey, what's the point of that, If you're on that side, or if you're not on that side, then you must be on the other side of the coin, right? With people who are alt-right, with people who are conservative Christian, with people who just are like, let the businesses do their thing because, hey, if you don't give them freedom, we're going to ruin the whole country. You have to be like, in the way they present it, you're on one side or the other. You're either going to get off of the crazy leftist plantation where clearly these people are weirdos, or you're going to come over to this side, or vice versa. Here's the problem with that. This is not a war between black, white, Hispanic, Asian. This is a war spiritually first, but carnally between the rich and the poor. And on one side, you have people that look progressive but are rich. These celebrities are rich. These athletes taking a knee are rich. Madonna is saying she wants to do things to the White House that no American should say. She's rich. These people are wealthy. And then on the other side, these business owners are wealthy. These people who own the television media and the radio that you so love are wealthy. And they pay people to represent them, and you just absorb and assimilate the information these arguing, bickering, wealthy people put out. They want to incite certain feelings and provoke certain behavior out of you, the average person. But at the end of the day, think about your real life experience. When I went to the store today, I was served by a man who was racially ambiguous, not black, not black ancestry, I don't think, but racially ambiguous. And I use that term for your benefit. My neighbor, I talked with her. She's Caucasian. My family is diverse. I'm not having an issue for the most part in my day-to-day life. And people don't have an issue with me. I get compliments on my beautiful children from people of all ethnicities. I interact with them without an issue. But during my research, you would think that we were just all at war with each other. Most people I know are very reasonable people who think, I read that gender list to a friend of mine and he just thought it was a joke. He couldn't even believe that was real life. Most reasonable people are like that. Most of us aren't on one extreme or the other. It's very important that you do not let the wealthy confuse you, dictate your train of thought, or make you believe that the narrative, meaning the story and the situations that they present are reality. And then you start to make that reality. You know? On the left, people are protesting and rioting in the streets. On the right, people are protesting and being racially hateful. And the truth is somewhere in the middle. I'm going to tell you what I think briefly, because I want to do other videos that really touch on within the Black community what I think, and in our community as human beings what I think. So I want to limit what I say here, but I really want to encourage you to turn off the TV. Turn off the radio. Stop letting these wealthy people confuse you and make you think that these issues are issues that matter. They have all the time in the world and all the money to argue and bicker over things that don't matter. For the whites, I would tell you, don't confuse. Now, we should pray for our president and wish him well, and I hope he does an amazing job. Sorry, that was my baby. But don't confuse a wealthy business owner who wants free market because it advances their business, who wants lower taxes for businesses. Don't confuse that with care for you. You see, because if you work for $3 an hour, as we see in countries that are very catering to these businesses, or a few cents a day, you are employed, right? Which makes stats look good because you have a job. Because remember, these same people are against minimum wage. They don't want to pay you a living wage. They want to pay you what they think you're worth. Don't confuse having a job with surviving, because we know that there are people in some countries that sort trash for a living, that work in factories for a living that make close to nothing, and they're employed, you know? In the same breath, don't confuse somebody that claims that they're passionate about police brutality, but at the same time want to completely ignore the real problems within Black communities. Don't confuse those people with people that care about you either. These are the same people who are pro-Planned Parenthood, which is killing lots of Blacks. So, you know, before I was talking to the whites, now I'm talking to the Blacks. These are the same people, right, who are helping to feed and fuel the idea. I have a family. These are the same people that that want you to believe that you solely need to depend on the system to advance your cause, which is crippling. But with that said, white people, don't be so pro giving money to corporations, giving tax breaks to corporations, giving incentives, financial incentives to businesses and the wealthy, but then scoff at the idea of incentives for the poor. There is a middle ground, but if you look at your television and listen to your radio and read your papers, you will see that the wealthy, they want to act like there's not a middle ground. there's just one way or the other way. They will keep us fighting and divided because as long as we are fighting and divided, they can hold on to their wealth. They can hold on to their power. Do not be moved by their puppets. Do not be moved by people who are given a title and a paycheck to speak on their behalf. We need to start communicating with each other and exclude these people from the conversation. They are the minority, and we are letting them control us. I literally just saw a beetle on my floor. I'm gonna pick it up. Okay, so that's what I have to say. If you want to get off the plantation, get off the plantation. Don't just switch from a bad master to a not so bad master. You know? Don't be used as a pawn in their scheme. The day of the peon needs to be over. If you don't know what a peon is, look up the old hacienda system. It's time that it stops. We are not pawns. We are not pieces to be moved about to pick a leader. Their causes aren't our causes, and their motives are not what should drive us. Turn off your TVs, turn off your radios, and get into the world, and let's have these conversations with each other. That's where I stand, on the left and on the right, and on the getting off the plantation, and on all of these movements that these wealthy people are funding to fuel. It was mentally taxing to research the foolery that was going on right now. It's very obvious to me because I'm not sitting there munching on it mentally every single day for hours a day like some people. At some point, we have to take a step back. And I hope in a future video for us to discuss what does that look like. And I say discuss because I don't want this to be a situation where I say, and then you guys just listen. There's too much of that going on. There's too much of passive interaction going on where somebody that seems educated, somebody that seems to know what they're talking about, tells you or I, you or me, what the truth is, and we just go, man, they sound like they know what they're talking about. I'm just going to regurgitate that. No, it's got to stop. Don't be the stupid people they want to make us out to be. We've got to be truly invested and involved and not be lazy with it, because the effects are coming to your door next. I hope you guys check out my video on Are Blacks Violent? Yeah, that should be an interesting video. I'll talk to you guys later.